Hi, I'm Leon, and this is Leon's Garage. Now, right now, I got my '06 Jetta right behind me, and I'm actually going to do a brake job on it. I got to do the pads and the rotors for the front. In a different video, I'm going to do the rears, and I think I'm also going to do the hoses, brake hoses for the rears also. Okay, as you can see, I already have the wheel removed and the car lifted up on jack stands. And right now, I'm just removing the hex bolts that hold the caliper onto the bracket. And this top bolt is just on there really tight. And I think I do eventually want to go to the hex screws or the hex tools that are actually on a socket, because that'll help me get more leverage so I can break off some tight bolts. And I just threw the light on to make sure that you guys could see what I'm doing a little bit better. I just wanted to show a light so I could see what I was getting into a little bit better. And since it's just a regular L-shaped wrench, it just takes quite a while just to loosen up the bolts. Yep, so now I'm just removing off this little curved, well, it's not even a bracket really, it's more like a spring. A curved spring. So I got some pliers that really holds the that caliper on there, along with the brake pad. But it's still not quite ready for me to take it off yet. So I pull, but can't really get it off. So I just got to keep at it. And right here, I'm using the wrong tools because I should have a small pry bar or a thick screwdriver to really be able to pry stuff around that's small, like the inside grooves of the vented rotors. But I don't really have that yet, so I need to go pick that up. But you're going to see me struggle with that wrench and with my L-shaped pliers, or the curved pliers. But then I finally go and grab the needle nose pliers. And those are small and strong enough for me to actually push the piston in some more. And I am able to remove the brake caliper off. I didn't quite have all my tools. I'm also showing you guys the condition of the brake pads. It's a lot of life left on these pads right here. And then since it's a VW, they're fancy, so they got the little brake pad sensor on there. This is for the driver's side only. So that's just one extra thing you have to do is unplug that sensor and you replace the pads. But I was saying that I wish I had a bungee cord so I could actually hook the bungee cord up to the caliper and throw it on like the coil spring. But I actually just find that just sitting it on top of the little brake shield, and along with like the bracket part that connects the strut to the wheel hub assembly, it's wide enough where you could just place the caliper on there and it'll just stay in place. And I got my brake caliper piston compressor tool, and I actually just bought this tool and it works really well. And I'd hate to say that I should have bought this tool about 14 or 15 years ago, because it's really not that expensive. And some of the other tools you can use, they work okay, but this one just works better and it's faster. Sometimes you just gotta buy the right tool for the job. Oh, but yeah, I just shifted the camera back a little bit so you guys could see it a little better. Now I'm just compressing the piston all the way in. Because if you compress it some, but not all the way, sometimes you're not able to get the caliper back on. Especially if your pads are really low, then you could really tell. Yep, just pointing that it's compressed all the way. So I just gotta take the tool out. And just take out that old brake pad. I also don't have a wire brush to brush out some of the corrosion in the brake caliper. So I'm gonna need to get one of those too. Sometimes it's a little tricky for some of these connectors to make them loose. I thought you just compress the back part, but it just broke. Didn't quite work. It's actually just had to push in the middle section. So I'm just going to be fiddling around with that for a minute or two so I could get that out. Yep, just showing you guys that there's still a good amount of life left, but I still wanted to replace the pads and rotors. Now I need to take off the bolts for the brake caliper bracket. Pretty sure those are 21 millimeter bolts. Yeah, that top one, it's on pretty tight. Yep, so sometimes you just gotta change position a little bit, and then I go at the bottom one. And the bottom one, it's on pretty tight too. So I was able to break the top one loose, but I just didn't eat enough Wheaties that day. That's why I couldn't get that bottom one. Plus I need to hit the gym a little more, up my strength so I could break some of that stuff loose, but couldn't do it. So you'll see me switch up my change of attack in a couple moments. You hear me messing with it, but yep. Finally had to bring out the big gun, the impact wrench. And this one isn't that powerful, but it still makes quick work of tight bolts, so definitely need one of those. Try to fiddle around with it by hand, but no, it's just, I say go back, just gotta go back to that impact wrench. Just zip those bolts off. then it is convenient that the model I have, it has a light on it, so especially when I'm working in parking garage and it's pretty dim like it was that night, just get a little better visual on what I'm doing. Yep, I'm not able to I don't quite show you guys that well in this, but the rotors have a good amount of life left in it too, but I still wanted to just change out the rotors. Then I just got some regular ceramic brake pads, just generic brand I got. And this is the most important one because it has the little brake pad sensor for when it gets low. So you just gotta fit those clips just inside the brake piston, and those springs press against it, so it definitely holds it in place. You just gotta plug in the sensor. Also need to get that screw to screw that bracket back on the little slot where it's supposed to go to. But I'll have to do that later. Yep, now I just have the other pad, put it into place, but can't really put it in now. I need to get the rotor on and the bracket for the brake caliper on there. But first, you gotta put a little bit of grease on the wheel hub. It's just general wheel grease, or just general grease. But I don't have a wire wheel, that's why I'm not actually cleaning up the corrosion first. So eventually I'll need to get me a wire wheel, clean up the corrosion off some of these parts. So you just have a cleaner and a better mating surface for all the new parts to go on there. Yep, just trying to spread it out all nice and evenly. Yep, then I got the new rotor. It's all fancy and cross-drilled. Then you gotta have your brake cleaner to clean off the anti-rust chemicals that they put on those. So you gotta have that. I think right here is when I noticed that they sent me one wrong brake rotor. And they got the sticker right on the surface where the brakes go, so that's also really not that great, but those were affordable, so sometimes that's what they do, I guess. So now I'm just lining up the holes on the rotor and make sure I have the screw hole lined up right so I can put the new screw in there, because that helps just keep the rotor onto the hub when you're putting the caliper on and the caliper bracket back on there. So that's all nice and tight. Now I just have the bracket, and I gotta get it in place and then thread the bolts back in it. Yeah, I do need a little more lighting so I can see what I'm doing a little bit better, and you guys can see when I'm filming, because this just really isn't enough light for this. And it also doesn't help that it was dark too. Now I got my knee in the way, but I'm taking the caliper off. So I noticed that on the back side, they had the sticker on the brake pad area. And I kind of wanted to get that off too. But I actually just changed my mind and said, screw it. I'm not going to worry about it. Because I forgot that the screw was in there holding it. Because I'm just used to the brake rotors not having a screw holding it in place. But yep, now I'm just putting that bracket back on. Yep, my knee's still in the way, but at least you could see me tightening the bolts a little bit. Now I could put that other side of the brake pad in place. Now I'm trying to slot it in place, but actually you guys can see it a little bit. Was the bolts for the caliper is still going through the caliper and through the other side, and that's actually interfering with me just putting the caliper in place. So I actually have to go on the back side and just unscrew the bolts. You'll see in a couple minutes. And since I don't have Allen wrenches on a socket, it takes a while. But you can see it right here that I took one out all the way, so it's not going to interfere. Now I'm just working on the top one. Because right in those sleeves, it's not threaded, so once you could kind of get it out a little bit, you could just pull it. But yeah, it's actually better to put this outer brake pad on the bracket. Now I can press it into place. Then I can screw it in place. It does take a while, but I am able to do it. I gotta cut some of that out because it's not that entertaining, especially since you can't see actually me the bolts getting threaded in. But that's all right. Yep, now it's tight and it is complete. Alright, as you can see guys, I got the brake pads and brake rotors replaced. This is passenger side. I showed you guys me doing the driver's side. You could tell that I really wanted to just get regular rotors because I want to do a brake upgrade later on with some bigger 2-pot pistons. And I just wanted blanks for now. But they ended up being cross-drilled. I can live with that, that's fine. One issue I did see was that they're both raked the same way. But since I didn't pay that much for these, it's fine. I could just live with that. And even though you guys saw that there's plenty of life left on the pads, I could actually tell that the pad material really wasn't stopping the vehicle that well, because these, I could just feel noticeably more stopping power. I think it's just because those brakes were just old and they had a lot of heat cycles with them. So this is fine. I can live with these. Ooh, and also, so I'm gonna do that for the rears, or hopefully I'll be able to get that tool so I can do that for the rears. And I'll just get this set back up. It's just good maintenance. Just something you need to do every few years when the pads or the rotors wore out. So I get this wheel back on, and you guys have to wait for me to do my next video.